Jewish Education in Media is pleased to present L'Chaim, a program that highlights the people, issues, and events of importance to the Jewish community. Now here is your host, Rabbi Mark Golub.
Love City, baby, Mama used to call me. Love City, baby, don't you give your heart away. Boys will come and boys will go. This is something you should know. Everything ain't quite the way it seems. Living on Delta dreams, you know that's right. He made me mellow, he made me rough. He called me baby, he called my bluff, City baby. Thank you.
I'm Mark Golub, and that amazing musical talent is known throughout America as the Hebrew Hillbilly, who's entertained audiences everywhere, beginning with Memphis, Tennessee, where she was born and raised with a marvelous blend of blues, rock and roll, and Jewish soul that has elevated her to a unique role in the music world. I've had the pleasure of getting to know this bundle of energy, talent, and Jewish commitment through the Jake Ehrenreich Show here on JBS. And on this edition of L'Chaim, what a pleasure it is for me to introduce to you Shelley Fisher, singer, songwriter, actress extraordinaire. It is so wonderful to have you at this table. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me here. It's an honor, Mark.
It's just a joy. You know, I thrill to what you do on stage. And there's so much I want to talk to you about in terms of who you are as an entertainer and what you're trying to do. But I first, you know, Shelley, in the general, as people just think in general, you don't normally think of Jews in Memphis, Tennessee.
Not usually.
What was it like to grow up as a Jew in Memphis, Tennessee?
Well, I'm going to say something, and you might have to take it out. Growing up Jewish in the redneck South was about as welcome as a third boob in an already too tight bra. Mark, it just didn't fit.
It didn't fit?
No.
Were you uncomfortable? Do you remember being uncomfortable?
I do remember being uncomfortable.
What made you uncomfortable, Shelley?
Just showing up anywhere. I was never called a nice girl. As a matter of fact, the term Hebrew Hillbilly isn't something I made up. It is something that my first grade teacher, who was actually known as Nasty Miss Asty, called me. Those are facts.
So she called you this as a term of derision.
I would say so, but she thought it was funny.
Did you think it was funny?
No, but now being a little older, I think that people down south that were not Jewish really did think of Jews as weird, strange, a quaint oddity that they could use. Mm-hmm. Because I say on behalf of our people, we're unbelievable. For a little group of people that was basically annihilated by Hitler, and we don't have to belabor that, but the fact is we all know that story, to come anywhere in the United States, and in particular in a bastion of redneck anti-Semitism and racism, and rally the way that we did. I know that my daddy, Max, came to this country when he was 10 years old.
From where?
From Russia. And it was no easy boat ride. Mm-hmm. They didn't have such a good look of the Statue of Liberty, but he told me that the Statue of Liberty took one look at him and said, "Hey, Jew boy, go down south where those really nice southern people will welcome you with a really big shalom, y'all." And he made the best of it. I don't know how. At 10 years old with poor, really poor, immigrant parents, he somehow went from first grade, third grade, sixth grade. He graduated from high school at the same high school as Elvis, which is a questionable signature, as a valedictorian.
He was?
Yes. He's a brilliant man. He was a poet. He was a concert violinist. He co-founded the Memphis Symphony Orchestra and played first string violin till the day he died.
This is a wow.
This
Your
is
father was a wow.
He was a
But wait,
wow.
when he went down to Memphis at 10, were his parents with him?
Well, yes, basically, the dad came first, and that's a whole other story.
Was the dad already in Memphis?
He was, but he denied it.
Okay, I'm trying to understand, why did your father, Max, ever choose to go to Memphis? Why didn't he stay somewhere in New York or go to Chicago where there was a strong Jewish population? Why Memphis?
And keep in mind, unfortunately, my daddy died when I was 12 and he was 45 years old. So I don't have all the background in the world, but I have what I have. And he told me that there was a quota, for his knowledge, of there was just enough Jews in the Northeast.
I see.
And they had to farm us out to other places in the country. And my father, like a lot of immigrants who somehow landed elsewhere, banded together. My father also became an attorney at law. He was, in my mind, a brilliant man.
He was obviously brilliant.
Obviously.
And talented.
Obviously.
And musical.
Obviously.
Okay, your mother, what was she like?
Brilliant, funny, fascinating. She's part of a bloodline which is actually incredible. My cousin actually is Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Israel.
Wow.
And my mother's name was Frida.
Yes.
She was really born and raised in Pittsburgh, so she's a whole American. And her father was a rabbi. And it's a story which we've all heard before. He was a Talmudic scholar, and she was the baby of 6 kids. She was highly gifted. She had her own radio program on KDKA radio, as she told me. She's now, I'm sorry to say, currently deceased. I guess she's going to stay that way, except in my heart. Oh, what a... Anyhow, she was a great singer, songwriter, comedian, and I personally think I get most of my talent from my mother.
Yes.
And that's why I continue to perform.
Let me get this straight. Shelley, your grandfather was a rabbi.
That's correct.
And your father is an immigrant Jew from Russia.
That's correct.
What was the tenor of the Jewishness in your home? Because very often,
It's a good question.
you know, immigrants can go one of two ways. They can either bring it with them, or they can want to sort of distance themselves. What was your Jewish home like?
Well, suffice it to say that every Friday night my mama served up fried chicken, latkes, and gefilte grits.
It's true?
It's true. My mother was highly creative, highly inventive. She was very, very proud of our Jewish roots, as was my father. And
So that was instilled in you.
oh, yeah. And I think especially, I was aware I was in a minority from early on. I could see the way that the other people looked at us. At no time, not ever, was I ever considered just a nice girl. I was always that nice little Jewish girl. And no, I didn't care for it. Mm-hmm. When I started planning my show, my cousin Barbara Oliver Shullum, she says, Shelley, I don't like the name Hebrew Hillbilly because we're not Hebrew Hillbilly. I said, what do you think we should call it? She said, you should call it Jewish Gentry. Okay, very nice. We came down to Mississippi on a barge with King and Queen and LeBlue.
Who was this?
Well,
Who you? It was Barbara?
my cousin.
Your cousin.
My first cousin. But she had some great ideas. And when I was in the planning stages of this show, I did go home to Memphis, Tennessee with the material that I had and ran it over. And she said, Shelley, I think you've got a hit on your hands. Never mind that you're 100. No, it was, she didn't say it. But she said, I think that you should call it Jewish Gentry. I said, somehow this is not resonating with me.
Yes, yes.
And I put Jewish Gentry. People going to think that are old enough to remember Bobby Gentry that I'm her sister. Here she comes, her sister, Jewish Gentry. So I just...
Hebrew Hillbilly, the way you used it, it doesn't sound like it was nice when it was first used about you, but it is a brilliant use.
Thank you.
A brilliant.
Thank you.
When you were at school, were you the only Jewish child in the class?
No, actually, there, especially as I got a little older, there was
Yes.
more and more Jews who came from Eastern Europe. And my father was, I do think he's a great man, and he was my father. And of course, since he's been deceased so long, I know I've idolized him, but to me, he deserves it. He masterminded immigration from Russia, Eastern Europe, to Memphis, Tennessee. I guess he didn't want to be the only one.
You know, I once got an email from a mother who lives outside Nashville. And it was a very short email that said to me, it's hard to be a Jew in Memphis. I'm sorry, in Nashville.
Okay.
It's hard to be a Jew in Nashville. And then she made references to our channel, that our channel makes it easier for her and her daughter
That's great.
to be Jewish.
That's great.
And it's always stuck with me. And I said to myself, first of all, I don't believe it is limited to one geographic area. I believe Jews who live outside of major urban centers, sometimes it's hard to be a Jew. I'm asking you whether, in terms of Jewish identity, you're not the only Jew in the class, but you are. It sounds like as you start school, there are very few Jews in the class.
That's true.
Okay, and you have a teacher who's already thinking it's funny to call you Hebrew.
That's right.
Okay, and some is it your cousin who says to you, "We're not Jewish, we're Hebrew."
Jewish gentry.
Jewish gentry. Okay, so to what extent, as you look back, was it hard for you and your parents as a family? Was it hard to be Jewish? Or was there, again, within, you said your mother was strongly, proudly Jewish, yes?
Yes.
Was your father proudly Jewish?
Extremely.
Okay. And I say, did they impart it to you? You said yes. I want to know, however, what did it mean to your family living in what you call the redneck South?
That's true.
To have to navigate as a Jewish family?
That's a great question. And, of course, I can't answer for my dad right now, but I would say, compared to being in the gunfire of the times around the Bolshevik Revolution, it was a piece of cake. We had barbecue. My mama, I don't know exactly if the word assimilated is correct, but she certainly did adapt to the environment. So, as I told you, she made fried chicken, latkes, and gefilte grits, but that's not all. Every Jewish person in Memphis, Tennessee loved barbecue. And I think because you're not supposed to have something, it makes it all the more, what's that word, geschmack? Oh, boy. So my mother sponsored fantastic events in our backyard she called Jubicues. And she convinced me that pork was kosher. She says, Shelley, our house is kosher, but our stomachs ain't. And as long as it was in the backyard on a paper plate, it was kosher.
So in your home you observed kashrut?
Yes, we did.
And then you ate treif, but it was in the backyard on paper plates.
Or elsewhere.
Fascinating, isn't it? By the way, there are many, many Jewish families that want a kosher home, even if they don't eat kosher outside the home.
Well, sure.
And I find that nothing hypocritical about it, as long as one's consistent, one understands what one wants to create in terms of their Jewish life. And obviously, there are many people who observe kashrut in their home and out of their home. And was there Shabbat in your home?
Was a major event.
Friday nights.
Yes, because, you know, the combination of homemade challah and barbecue, honey, that is what you call finger-licking good.
Okay.
I even wrote a song about it.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Oh, give me a couple lines.
Well, it's finger-licking good. Come on, Mark, you have to sing too. Finger-licking good. You can hear the whole score at HebrewHillbilly.com or even come to my show.
Absolutely. So, was there any Jewish education in your life? Did you go to a synagogue?
For sure.
What's for sure mean?
Well, I don't know how they pulled this off because really we were a small but very powerful community. As a matter of fact, I think that you can I mention Rabbi Joseph Telushkin?
Absolutely.
Happens to be my rabbi in Los Angeles. Did point out that Memphis, Tennessee, especially back in the day, had one of the most powerful, engaged Jewish communities in the United States. So we were small but mighty people, and very successful. I think that every Russian Jewish person that showed up in Memphis, if they had $1, put 25 cents away for real estate. And they bought something by the time they were 21 years old and did very, very, very well. We have some of the richest people in Tennessee, in Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm real proud of my community. I called all the people that I knew, aunts or uncles, and we all masterminded, apparently the dads and so forth, a synagogue called the Barrenhurst Synagogue, which was the largest Orthodox synagogue in the United States, which I didn't even not know what Orthodox meant. Can I tell you what it meant to me? It meant an opportunity to meet boys. And here's how it went. There were very few boys, Jewish boys, in the tri-state area. And Memphis was the hub of the tri-state area. So my mother waited for the high holy days to pull out all the stops. And in those days, there weren't transitional fabrics. So they got wool. Very, very nice woolen items. And that, I don't know if God loves us so much. How could the air conditioner break and it become 110 degrees in the shade? Here was the redeeming quality. My mother and I sat next to each other in the section on the side. And of course, the men had the big, beautiful section in the middle. But my mother had high-powered binoculars. And there's fresh meat. Go now. And I met boys. So then she called the Navy base. Oh, you don't know what she went through to get a Jewish boy.
For you.
In Memphis, Tennessee.
For you.
Because we had a Navy base there called Millington. Okay. And it was really an underclass neighborhood, but it was a big, giant Navy base. My mother phones up, can you connect me up with the chaplain? Excuse me, do you have any Jewish boys on the base?
Really?
Honey, do I look like I'm lying? As she would make the most fantastic Shabbos dinner and invite up to 3 Jewish Navy guys. And most of them I didn't care for, but they wanted to come back. I don't know if they liked me or my mama's cooking. Both, but for sure my mother's cooking, because she was a tremendous cook.
Mm-hmm. Did you like any of them?
Really not too much, and I think, and maybe this is not going to go over right, but I think when you can't have something, you really want it. I wanted to go out with a Gentile boy because it was something different.
Yes.
And not so incestuous like first. But she refused, and I had to stay with the Jewish boys. And, well, I've always been interested in performing, Mark. I can't recall any time in my lifetime where I did not like to sing and perform.
Think for 1 minute. What did you think the first time you sang for someone was?
Well, for sure, I was on television when I was 5 years old on a show called The Little Review. Really? Like, hi, diddle, diddle. If you can part your hair in the middle, you can be on The Little Review. Anyway, I thought it was the greatest thing. So I got to perform very, very early on television and radio, and I loved it. Nothing can absorb you like the creative process, and I'm sure you're the same way. When you get an idea and you're able somehow to bring it to fruition, whether it's a song or a few lines, or even now I'm trying to recreate my mother's challah recipe, and I'm going, how did she do this? Because challah is a universal term, but it all tastes different. And some of it, as we get more contemporary, we stay away from carbs because it is what it is. But the way that my mother, first of all, the way it smelled, because it would start out on Thursday night before Shabbos. And I saw her roll the dough, put it in that great earthen pot, put a dish towel on the top, and let it rise almost all night long. And then when you came home from school, these are the memories. I have a song about that in my show called Somewhere to Come From. And it really sort of...
I don't care if you sing it or use it, but let me hear some of the words.
Things don't look so good in my old neighborhood. My car is breaking down. Won't hardly take me into town. But I got a place I call my own. More than a house to me, Mark. It's home. Somewhere to come from. Everybody needs somewhere to come from with old familiar seeds. You know, it's nice to hit that highway for places new and strange, but there's a special kind of comfort knowing some things never change. And that's, to me, Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, that's wonderful. By the way,
I wrote every word.
Yes, you are
Thank you.
both a songwriter and a lyricist.
Yes.
You also collaborate often with somebody.
Several people,
Okay.
2 in particular.
And they are?
Kenny Hirsch and Harold Payne.
Very nice. But the words you just recited, they're your own words.
Most of the songs are all my words. There's some collaboration, but I'm designated as the lyricist. I have some melodic ideas, and these guys put the chords around it. And the way they work is so interesting to me because they just, now and then would just write a melody and say, what can you do with this in terms of lyrics? But especially with Kenny, the songs are written organically, especially the song that you seem to really like, We Remember.
Which we'll play later on.
Thank you, which is an homage to our people. Well, Kenny and I were having a rehearsal, and I went to the powder room for a minute, and he's so creative, he started playing these certain chords. And I came out and said, what is that? And he said, just doodling around. And I said, keep playing. And I started singing, we remember him, we remember her. Anyway, he goes, what is this? I said, it's our homage to our people. And he said, keep singing. So basically, I wrote most of the song.
It just emerged.
Emerged. That's a great way. You are very creative. It emerged, and he said, I want to finish this. His father was going to be 100 years old here in New York City, and we sang this song for his father.
Oh, that must have been very touching, you know?
It was.
You said your mother also loved to sing.
She loved to
She
sing.
was funny.
She was great.
And she loved to sing. Was she funny in the same way you are?
Yes.
Irreverent funny.
Yes.
And she had an ability to see life from a very unique perspective.
As you do, to be able to recognize that. Thank you.
But that is a gift you have, and you got it from your mother.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you just told us you loved to perform from when you were a little child.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you told us you had real Jewish experiences in your youth.
Absolutely.
Despite the fact that there were some problems living in Memphis, Tennessee.
Right.
Okay. Now, you were very bright. You ended up going to Boston University.
Yes, I did.
You also do work at UCLA.
That's correct.
Okay. In your college years, did Jewishness stay important to you?
Always.
Always?
I was a member of Hillel in college. I am a Jew. I think that my mother had that expression, Ich bin a Yid. She said, Shelley, there's something called the Pentel Yid, a little bit of Jewishness that is part of your core fiber. It's who you are. And because of something about the way I look, many people call me a Shixie from Dixie, but honey, that ain't right. I am a very proud Jewish girl. I wouldn't have minded if God gave me longer legs. My mother named me Shelley because it rhymes with jelly. She knew what my thighs were going to look like. What can I do?
You're gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're doing fine.
Thank
you're
you.
Doing fine.
And you're a great host.
So now what happens?
Thank you, Mark.
You're done with college. You're a grown-up. And at some point, you now as an adult want a career in show business. When do you make that decision that you're going to devote professional life?
That's a great question. Well, it's always what I wanted to do. However, my stepfather talked me out of everything I wanted to do.
Really?
Yes, because I was raised in a certain era.
This is after your father dies.
That's correct. Boy, you're good. And my mama remarried, and he was a really nice man. And he was the South's foremost orchestra leader. He actually was a concert violinist. I began to realize that my mama just liked to fiddle around. Oh.
But there's music in your life everywhere you look.
Everywhere.
Okay, so keep going. When do you decide to do this professionally?
Well, I was always doing it professionally. I had a band. My first college, I went to Washington University, and I met a boy. We established a band. He followed me to Boston University. We had another band. So I've always been a professional performer. I was very depressed that my stepfather virtually forced me into education. I knew it wasn't going to be for me. Teaching was not for me. They told me in teacher training, Mark, that it was a compliment if a kid called you mother. It didn't take me long to realize that mother was only half the word. It was not my forte. I like kids if I could work with them on a creative basis, but these days, school teachers are like policemen armed with chalk.
Yes, but this wasn't, you became a teacher, it was a different era. It wasn't quite the same as it is today. But what's interesting is, you know, many of us when we were growing up, we were pigeonholed. And one of the things that was true for many Jewish girls is
Yes.
their parents worried what will happen to you if you're not married and you have to support yourself. And there's one thing we know, you can always make a living as a teacher. And
Did you write my script?
So they wanted you to be safe.
You got it.
But they didn't understand. Your stepfather didn't understand who you were. Your mother must have known.
My mother was in another era. And, you know, a widow at 36 years old was a big deal. Because my mother actually brought me here to New York City and met with some agents after my daddy died, Oliver Sholem. And she got some gigs doing what I do. But she was touring the South, basically under the auspices of Hadassah. And
What was her stage name?
Oh, she had several, depending upon the caliber of the hot dog stand she was appearing at.
Isn't that honest? That's how it works. Give me one or two of her stage names.
Nancy Nelson was a biggie.
Nancy Nelson.
Barbara Brooks was her fave. No, whatever. She just made it up. She said, "Oi, I can't let anybody know it's really me at this hot dog stand." I must say my career has followed suit. Oi, vey!
By the way, you have something called 50 grades of 50 shades of Oy Vey.
That's correct. Well, it's a description. It's the
Of?
Hebrew Hillbilly. It's a description of the Hebrew Hillbilly, 50 Shades of Oy Vey. And a lot of people ask me, is that supposed to be sexy? I'm Jewish. What do you say? We eat and suffer, please. I told you that. This is just something about our people that as joyous as we can be, my mother woke up in the morning and the first thing she would do would take a cigarette and go, "Oi." What?
So, did you ever get to perform with your mother?
I did, bless you for asking. But she smoked away her voice, which was actually a tragedy for me to witness because it's the sweetness of not only my mother's voice, but she was a professional singer. I mean, she has a lot of famous people in her bloodline, and she was an entertainer. And the reason I think that I continue to entertain, it's somehow from my mother. I wanted to be like my mother. Her bad health and decline and the death of my father were devastating to her and to me.
Again, you were 12?
I was 12.
It's very hard to lose a father at that age. It's hard to lose a father. By the way, it's hard to lose a father at any age.
That's correct.
But if one is a child,
Yes.
it is devastating in a totally different way.
It is terrible. Of course, I wouldn't know any other way because everyone's always asking comparisons like, how was it growing up in Memphis Jewish? Well, it was what it was because I didn't know any different. I came to New York City when I was 9 years old with my mama, and I couldn't believe anything like this existed. You know, I thought Memphis was really whoopee-doo when I was a little girl. But New York City, wow. This place is a world unto itself, which is why when I sing my song, Rockin' in Memphis, the first line is, New York City never sleeps.
Yes,
But
that's how you start the song.
Right, because it captivated me as a little girl. And I've always wanted to perform in New York City, and I'm so grateful that I've had that opportunity, and I want to do more.
Your daughter, is she talented like you are?
Thank you for asking. Well, I think she's more talented.
In what way?
Well, she's my daughter, and she's gorgeous, and she sings. She can hit D over high C, and she's got this soprano voice, and she was in, actually, the Jewish Women's Repertory Company production of Thoroughly Modern Millie a few months ago as she played the second lead, which was Miss Dorothy Brown. She was sensational. She sparkles like a diamond. She's, I won't say how old, but not real old, but she's still got a true ingenue quality, and it's, look, that's nachas. There's nothing like the pride that you feel for your child. It's a thrill for me to have raised this gorgeous daughter by myself and to see her grow into such a beautiful lady and a married woman.
Nachas again.
It's called nachas a la mode, as my mama would say. It doesn't get any better than that. People ask me if I wish I had more. Well, it was contraindicated to my particular circumstance. So maybe it's conjecture. I'm thrilled I have the daughter that I have. I feel she changed my life. Basically, my story, the Hebrew Hillbilly, is built around how she gave me purpose beyond the Hollywood sign.
All right, talk to me about that. I want to now talk to you about the content of your show.
Thank you.
Which you've crafted very carefully. And it's not only wonderful entertainment.
Thanks.
It's a powerful message.
Thank you.
I want you to try to summarize for me. What's the message that pulsates through your entire show?
Thank you. I think the number one message is that in these tolerance testing times, Mark, it's important to remember that we all have much more in common than we do different. And it is time, of all times, for people to respect each other. Listen, you cannot legislate feelings, but we have to at least legislate respect. What's happening in the world, in the United States, and in the Jewish community is not only so horrible, it's so close. Can I tell my little story about how it's so close?
Please.
My mother comes from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and when I saw that Pittsburgh massacre, it really, really brought home to me what a bad time we're in this country, and we need to turn it around. Conversely, well, on the same subject, like every woman, you ask me about my hair, I'm always searching for the right hairstylist. I mean, a day without a hairdo is a hair don't, no good. So I'm in this small shop in Beverly Hills and strike up a conversation with a really classy lady that turned out she was Jewish and in fundraising. And I said, by the way, used to be you're looking for a husband. Now, no, I'm looking for a housekeeper. You could keep your husband. I need your housekeeper. I said, I'm looking for a new housekeeper. Would you know anybody? And she said, you know, I've had the same housekeeper for over 30 years. Would you like me to give her your name? And I said, well, that would be a real mitzvah. And she did. And the woman called me. We made an appointment. She was going to come over and work in my home. In the meantime, I sent her a thank you note, say I was looking forward to meeting the gal and looking forward to seeing her again. And I left a voicemail and a text and no return. And so I'm thinking something went wrong here. Maybe she doesn't like me or whatever. I didn't come up with any absolute, but when she didn't respond to me the second time, I said, well, who knows? She left me a text last week on Mother's Day Eve. Shelley, I'm not ignoring you. I'm glad you connected with my housekeeper. She's like part of our family. By now you must have heard of the incident at the Chabad in Poway. Shelley, it was my sister who was killed. Now when it gets that close, yes, you can't ignore this. You can't say we'll do something about this. We can't stand for any kind of discrimination, persecution, and useless murders. But we are Jewish. And we have to stand for ourselves. Because I truly believe nobody, no group of people on earth has given more to what the world considers underdogs than the Jewish people. I really feel it's time for the Jewish people to respect yourself and to understand that we have to stand with ourselves. I recently wrote a song, one of my newest songs is called I Want to Stand With You. And up to this time, I never discussed civil rights in my show, but with what's happening, some people are in complete denial about anything that happened that they don't like. and you certainly, we know that. There's many people never heard of the Holocaust. Many people think that slavery was a form of employment. There wasn't a Holocaust. Well, we know different. So I was raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and I had a black nanny who was like a second mother to me. And I think one of the most exciting days of my life was my mama said we could go downtown on the bus. So I dressed up in my fanciest taffeta dress. I had a Mickey Mouse suitcase, and we walked arm in arm to the bus stop. As soon as we got on the bus, she drops me off like a hot potato on a big, little bitty seat by myself, and her name was Orame. Orame hightails it to the back of the bus, to a big, long seat, and sits with all her friends. My first thought was, what did I do wrong? From a 5-year-old's point of view, I don't know about segregation. She doesn't love me anymore. And the song describes the situation.
What are some other words?
Well, you're asking me some hard questions, but I just had a good, positive brain exam, so I think I can do it. Why can't I sit with you? Tell me, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Please don't make me go. Don't make me let go of your hand. I don't understand. Why can't I sit with you? And then we got off the bus, and I'm thirsty. I see 2 fountains over there. One says colored, maybe red and green, just like the fountains in Court Square. I'm standing beside you, and you push me away. Why can't I stay? Why can't I stay? I want to stand with you in this chorus. And go to HebrewHillbilly.com and find out more.
That is wonderful.
Thank you.
You are amazing.
Well, sure, it's nice to hear, and it takes one to know one, and you know that's
You're very
true.
sweet. All right, just for fun, you're from Memphis.
Yes, I am.
Did you-
Memphis.
Did you ever come across Elvis?
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact. Y'all out there in the viewing audience, you might not know this, but y'all are looking at the queen of rock and roll, Shelley. Thank you very much. If I'd known you would ask about it, brought my glasses. Matter of fact, a lot of folks think Elvis died, but that ain't right. I just had a sex change.
Does that mean the answer is yes?
I loved Elvis.
Did you?
Elvis was a major life changer. I met Elvis at my stepdaddy's theater when I was like about 8 years old. I drew a circle around my cheek where he kissed me, and I did not wash my face for days. Everybody, even though he was not considered a classy guy, my mother described him as white trash because that's the way it was. He was fascinating. He was sexy. He was unique. He was raw. And he had an inherent kind of a southern sweetness about him. And I heard this. Now, I cannot verify that Elvis was Jewish. Did you know this?
By the way, the Jews want to take credit for everybody.
Look, we're desperate. You're one tip. Say you're Jewish.
Right. Columbus was Jewish. Yeah,
You'll get
right.
a good meal. It says, my mother can cook. Just say you're Jewish. You met a Jew. It's the way we're desperate for people. Convert, no problem. And yet, a rabbi passed extreme goyim, because we asked several different rabbis about marrying my daughter and my son-in-law. And you know, due to the fact that his mother is not Jewish and his father is Jewish, unless he made an official conversion, even though he was bar mitzvahed on Mount Masada a few years ago with my daughter at the wonderful birthright trip. However, the first choices would not marry my daughter, but we got a great choice anyway. And look, there's going to be issues you don't agree with. This is an ancient religion, and this show, may I tell you, the Hebrew Hillbilly is the longest running solo musical play in the United States, Mark. And we perform coast to coast for thousands of people. It's brought me closer to our community. And fair. No, I'm kidding. I have so much pride.
But I alluded to this already.
I missed it.
There is a Jewish component to what you, it's not simply the Hebrew Hillbilly, but there is a sense that we understand that Judaism and Jewish identity is important to this person on stage. Yes?
Yes, it is.
I didn't ask you, incidentally, do you have any feeling for the state of Israel?
I love the state of Israel, and I also have relatives in Israel. And one of them, did I already mention this?
You said Ehud Barak.
Okay, is my cousin. Our Zadis were brothers. That means grandfather. And that would be impossible not to truly respect and be proud of that connection. But the whole story of the Exodus and the state of Israel formed in 1948. My mother used to sing this amazing song that was written by Leo Fuld for, Israeli Independence Day.
I'll do a couple of bars.
Oh, no, not today.
No?
I need to stop at a couple of bars before I sing a couple of bars. I need my accompaniment. But tell me, where shall I go via Hinzelach Gain? And I really don't speak Yiddish, but I can sing the via Hinzelach Gain, Verkeneren Meer part, because it was so powerful to me as a little girl, hearing my mother sing that song and how she could bring people to tears. And it didn't make any difference if you didn't understand the Yiddish. You understood it. That here's a beleaguered people that have nowhere to go. To the left, to the right. It's the same in every land. I have nowhere to go, and it's me who should know. Would you please understand? And the beauty that we do have a place to go, I feel, is more powerful today than it was in 1948. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had the good fortune to be in Israel?
I have.
What did it feel like for you?
You ask great questions. For me, it had a very holy feel. I actually went to Israel the first time when I finished high school with my mother. And we caught El Al plane in Istanbul, Turkey. To see this massive plane with this Mogen David blue on the tail was really such an experience. I think that if you're not Jewish, you couldn't experience it. Mm-hmm. And the feeling that my mother imparted, so proud. She just was beside herself. And they played Hot Tikva as you touched down in Tel Aviv. And my mother, she sure was eclectic. Instead of making a cross, she made a Mogen David. She was highly creative. I love you, Mom.
So let's end there. You have this extraordinary feeling for your mother and father.
Yes, I do.
And it comes through in everything you do.
Thank you.
And you and I have had the good fortune to spend many hours talking to each other.
Thank you. It's been a joy.
For me
and I hope there'll be more.
There will be more forever. So you did a song, and you know I love this song. And when I hear it, I'm imagining you're singing it to your mother and father.
Yes.
The way you described it earlier in the show here in L'chaim, it is to your people.
That's correct.
Okay, but is it okay that I imagine you're in some way singing it to your mother and father?
Well, of course, that's the source. You can never have another mother or father, and the respect that I feel for them. I didn't think they were perfect. For years, I've been angry that my father left me so young. Of course, I realized he had nothing to do with it. And my mother, who I'm quite a bit alike, was extremely outspoken. And that wasn't always easy because you got what you got. Some nights it was challah, sometimes no. But that's the way it was, and I wouldn't have traded them for $1 billion. I feel that they gave me such amazing DNA and memories. Music in my house all the time. Jubicues in the backyard, and you knew that was pork, all the time. This rich history, and these Eastern European Jews that sort of migrated to our neighborhood. I always loved to sing. So I'm singing down the street in Memphis, Tennessee, and I come across a lady's house whose name was actually Mrs. Cooper. And so from her porch, she'd say to me, "Was magst du y'all?" I'll never forget it. "Was magst du y'all?" And I'd say, "How you doing today, Miss Cooper?" She said, "Well, I'm fine, doggone it. I'm from Dixie, just like you." And she says, "Let me sing about it." And she starts singing, "Oi, I came from Alabama with a banjo on my knee. Sun so hot I'm frozen dead. Susanna, cry for me. Oi, Susanna, don't you cry for me, 'cause I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee. Oi!" And this is a true story.
That is priceless.
Well, this is the way they wanted to be. These immigrants, they wanted to be American.
Yes.
They wanted to be Southern. They believed they were Southern, just like me.
Anyway, you were on Jake Ehrenreich's show here on JBS, and you did this song. It blew me away.
Thank you.
And I want to share that song and your performance of that song with our audience. This is the Hebrew Hillbilly, Shelley Fisher, doing a very special song. I just want you to see it.
Thank you. We remember him, we remember her. They live in our hearts just the way they were. We can see them smile, we can hear them laugh, we can feel their love guide us on our path. We remember their history, remember their legacy, and they'll always be a part of you and me. They'll always be a special part of you and me. Shema Yisrael, Adashem, Elokeinu, Adashem, Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adashem, Elokeinu, Adashem, Echad. As the years go by, we'll have no regrets. We will honor them, we will not forget. We remember their history, remember their legacy, and they'll always be a part of you and me. Remember, remember, they'll always be a part of you and me. They'll always be a special part of you and me. Thank you.
Shelley Fisher, the song We Remember. You know I bawl like a baby when you do this song. And
Thank you.
And who, you know, you and Kenny wrote this?
That's correct, Ken Hirsch.
And whichever of you figured out to put the Shema in, just, I mean, brilliant.
Well, we talked about it because I never designed this show, the Hebrew Hillbilly, to be just for Jews. It's a secular
Yes,
show.
yes.
It's about a real person, myself,
Yes.
raised in the Mississippi Delta by two strong, amazing Jewish people. But it's not a Jewish show, and I'm not a yeshiva bucker. But this is part of my essence. And we thought it would bring the show down. That is not what happened. Jews and Gentiles. And your response, which really touches me about that it makes you cry, is a universal response from Jews and Gentiles. And they are embarrassed. And then I try to make it a little bit lighter because I do think it would be a little heavy to just end on that
Yes,
song.
I understand.
So in the show, it's at the time when my mother is dying. And I say, during her last days, she said something she could never say before. Shelley, I'm so proud of you. You turned out to be the man I always hoped you'd marry. Thank you. So that gets them in a good mood. And then I sing my closing song, which is called I'm Still Hot. It comes in flashes, y'all. Now, that's right.
You are so fabulous.
Thank you.
You are. By the way, you travel the country now with
Yes.
this, and you're with a wonderful companion and manager, Alec, right?
That you got his name right.
I did.
Most people call him Alex. He can't
No,
stand
it's
it.
Alec.
He's going to love to hear
He
this
is
thing.
wonderful. He is wonderful.
He is great.
The two of you together are just fabulous. But you are. Come here, you. I want to tell you something. This is what I want to tell you. This is arrogance of the Eastern Jew, the Eastern Coast Jew.
I love y'all New Yorkers.
Okay. There's a feeling, well, if anybody talks like you talk with that accent, you must not be terribly smart.
I know.
And you certainly can't have a Jewish soul.
That's right.
No Jew talks that way. That's the sort of the silly response you get.
I know.
And then you come along. And there's so much warmth to you and
Thank
so
you.
much depth to you.
I really appreciate
and you
that.
know, a person's just a person.
That's right.
That's all. And you're doing the best you can. And the best you do elevates us. You elevate us through the music you do, through the words you write.
God bless you.
And most of all, when anybody talks to you, they come away feeling better. You,
What a nice thing to
you
say.
are a wonderful person, and you're a spectacular performer, and you're a profoundly wonderful Jew.
Thank
And
you.
this has been an honor having you. I wish you kol tuv v'hatzlacha. You and I will always stay close. One day you're going to sing with me. One day you're going to sing with Dara.
I can't wait.
Okay? And we're going to have more and more fun. In the meantime, I wish you all the best, darling.
And I say ditto to everything you said. And shalom, y'all.
Shelley Fisher, the Hebrew Hillbilly, singer, songwriter, actress, and a wonderfully committed Jew. If you ever have the chance to see Shelley perform in person, don't miss it. And you can see Shelley perform on YouTube or buy her CDs on Amazon, anywhere good music is sold. She is
Can I tell you
a
my
treat. Yes?
website?
Yes, what's the website?
HebrewHillbilly.com.
There you go. HebrewHillbilly.com.
Thank you.
As always, I invite you to be in touch with any thoughts or comments you may have to any of the ideas expressed on this edition of L'Chaim, especially if any of you are from the South, you're Southern Jews. Please email me, write me, post on our Facebook page, or tweet me. I look forward to hearing from many of you. And don't forget, you can now take L'Chaim with you on our L'Chaim podcast, available on iTunes and Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. Until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. L'Chaim, my friends, to life.
L'chaim is a presentation of Jewish education in media.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more. Simply visit the JBS website at jbstv.org and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please, indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check to JBS, P.O. Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.